Is Dr. Manny from Break the Cage MD. I don't know if you can hear the birds from in here, but I can. So let's try see if you can hear them on the video. Okay, so now birds are giving me the silent treatment. Um, this is number 12. We've made it over the peak of the length of Entrepreneurship is series. So today's idea is entrepreneurship is learning to dive. Learning to dive is a metaphor for going deeper into your unconscious mind. Now, what's funny about going into your unconscious mind is you're always doing it. I like to joke that a lot of times when you think you're going without, you're really going within. That is a double entendre because when you externalize things, and by that I mean when you pursue what they call symbolic self completion by either acting out physical gestures to make yourself and everyone else feel things that you have inside that you feel are too quiet, you're going without. It's externalizing. When you're buying material things to accumulate symbolic representations of things within yourself that you haven't taken the time to listen to or to hear or to feel or to understand and experience about yourself. All examples of failing to dive within when you're doing that external symbolic self completion, when you're buying the big truck because you feel a little Napoleon y. Those are all examples of going without when you should be going within. Those are all cases in which you fail to dive. And learning to dive means learning to sit quietly with nothing, letting the reactions um, come up first from yourself sitting quietly, what you notice. And it's sort of it's a mindful practice of just being comfortable with yourself, being comfortable with your baseline reality, noticing random birds in the background. And if you go back and check most of my videos, you can usually hear birds in them. That's one of the advantages of living out in the middle of nowhere. Um, it's letting emotions emerge and not immediately suppressing them, even when they're uncomfortable. Not immediately running off to self medicate, not immediately running off to blame, project them onto someone else. What you'll come to find as you dive is that the further you go without, the deeper you could have gone within with the same energy. Because what really happens, and different people have different ways of explaining this, is that everything around you is a result of your thought process. Uh, and in order to sound not too metaphysical about that, anything you see, anything you experience, what you're really doing is you're pulling up memories that are closely matched to that thing with the memory. And most we call that recognition, which you break down into recognition, thinking again. Cognition being um, categorization. You rethink something, you recategorize it. You're like, okay, that's a television. If I had never seen a television before, there are some people that say I wouldn't even notice it. I would just pan the room and it would be there. But later on, if you asked me, I wouldn't remember because I didn't. The things you don't classify, the things you don't think about, the things you don't that you don't go through the cognition process about, or which is the first classification, or the recognition process, which is thinking about them again using your memories. Things that you don't do that with don't show up later. You walk by and you're like, oh, to make a joke that a friend of mine and his wife were making a few months ago, well, a few years ago now. Um, my friend would be driving home and him and his wife would be in the car and he turned to her like, has that lake always been there? I know the feeling because I I space the light fantastic when I'm thinking about abstract ideas and I can miss details. The point of that being that when you notice these new things in your environment, uh, if you take the time to realize that what is really happening is that your archetypes are being activated And therefore, you have the ability to choose to first go within and experience the flavor of the experience of the activation. And in my Break the Cage MD, my burnout, unburnout course, I call this it's the recognition, reaction, well, recognition, representation, reaction cycle. The middle part, the representation, is when you realize that the recognition, that the archetype has been activated. Now, the reaction part of the cycle, excuse me, gotta get the pollen out of my lungs. The reaction part of the cycle is the autopilot. That's the knee jerk. When you tap the knee, that's the reflex. Realizing that when you spend more time diving within and just noticing what's there, you can do an edit of your memories. You can tune down reactions that are too powerful because you have the time and turn a reaction while it's safe into a response. The power that is when you've done that edit in private, when you turn that reaction into a response, something that is more aligned with your goals, more aligned with your values, next time you face that same situation in real life, the archetypes, the behavior patterns, the patterns of feeling, the patterns of sense of being that are activated in the context next time are more powerful. They're more choice motivated. They're more goal directed. So, woven into all that is the idea that entrepreneurship is learning to dive. Break the Cage MD. Check us out today. We're doing launch two, Your Hero's Journey, a journey to collective leadership.